Plant species. So a lot of the plant species on the road frontage too, local Ruby Springs, are quite volatile. And so the concept is starting to remove some vegetation and replace water-based plants, so plants that have got high, so they burn slower, which means that buys us a little bit of time to get there and actually suppress it. The second sort of aspect to it is we'd like to put up fire detection cameras. And the fire detection cameras are quite a high-tech unit. They're pretty low maintenance, so they have a solar panel that runs them. And they send out text notifications through our 111 system to Kaitiaki of the Springs, Department of Conservation, Anawhenua, whoever we nominate. And that lets them know that there's a fire start. And the fire start detection picks it up as an infrared, as a thermal and a smoke detection, so it has all that capability. And it's highly accurate, so it'll pick it up before the naked eye. So there's a few things we'd like eventually to have one of those cameras, and we are talking to organisations that may be interested in funding those. And we've started the process of clearing sections of the car park area at Waikato-Pupu Springs, which is one of our sort of main concerns. And we are really concerned about things like cars getting burned out down there and stuff like that. People flicking cigarettes out the windows. And so essentially we want to get a fire detection camera up there that gives us early notification. We've cleared a space, and on Saturday at 10 a.m. we're having a planting day, which we've advertised reasonably widely, and we're trying to get community engagement. So our focus going forward with this project is we're sort of setting the scene. We're putting our money where our mouth is and showing the possibilities. And we're really hoping to get community engagement and buy-in from there. We can't do it on our own. It has to be a community initiative. If there's no support for the community, we really don't want this project to fall over. So hence why I'd like to talk with this group, because you've got influence and connections through the community that we'd like to explore and get support from you, and to use your influence to help progress this sort of important kaupapa along. So the big thing is that we can't do it without the support of the community. We can't do it without money. And we're hoping that we can influence TDC to support us, but also we'd like to see some sort of a gate system like they have in Bevan Island that could potentially be closed off at night, just to stop that random activity happening. So there's a lot of potentials, but as far as we're concerned, also it's a really great opportunity for education piece, teaching people about wildfire behaviour and the impacts of wildfire going forward, because we're seeing fires that we've never seen in the past. We've got fires of greater intensity, they're burning faster, they're burning quicker, they're burning with more intensity, and we just can't put them out. So we use science to put out fires these days. We just track them. We try to steer them in the right direction, but the fires are so large that we actually can't put them out. We just can't get them out. So we have to think differently about the way we do things. And the way we're thinking is to build community resilience and actually start proactively looking at these. So rather than turning up and trying to put a fire out, we don't want them to start. And if they do start, we want them to grow very slowly so that we get an opportunity to get something out of it. So this is really about planting the seed for this group, and really hoping that you support us in a sort of immediate way that would be really helpful for this governance group, is to share our Facebook event. So we've got an event set up on Facebook. We want the community to turn up on Saturday. We'll put an advertisement in the local newspaper, so we're hoping that's going to drum up some support. But anything you can do to influence, share, and try to help support this kaupapa would be greatly appreciated. I'll introduce you to the governance group. So we've got Margie Little there from Anawhenua. So Margie's been really helpful from an iwi perspective to give us that sort of Māori view on how we go about it. And then we've got John Ayling. So John comes from a background with being CEOs of district health boards. So he's really good at sort of bringing groups together and getting an end goal, and also having John on board as a member of the community as opposed to a member of fans has been quite useful for us. So has anybody got any questions they'd like to ask?
Oh, sorry, Chris, I was taking that. Thanks, Julie. Great to have you here and to be letting us know in, some detail about what you're cooking up there. In terms of the camera, there's a funding issue to find funds for that, or?
It's a work in progress. So we do have interested parties, but because it's at the beginning of the project, it's hard to get momentum going. So we do have very good momentum at the moment. I continue with that.
Yeah.
We're in negotiation and discussion with Kingsem, and we're also in discussion with Fonterra as a start point. But we are looking for other avenues of funding. So anybody that's got an interest in the Springs or wants to raise their public profile or has an environmental need, this would be kind of a perfect scenario.
What's the camera going to cost?
The camera sits at around 50k, and that's installed, ready to go. That's the top end of the price bracket, between 40 and 50, that's what I'm estimating. But the ongoing cost of them is where the challenge is. So that at the moment sits around 6,000 or 7,000 a year, and we're trying to explore how we can do that differently or purchase a bundle of technology that lasts us for several years. But as far as getting early detection and notification, it's just, we see it as a bit of a game changer. And especially because even though it's not that far out of town, it's still out of sight.
Yeah.
So, we're not going to have people there at 11 o'clock to pick it up. It could burn for anyone ready this evening. So that's our main concern. And our first priority would be even ahead of the plants. The plants are more of a long-term view because they're not going to provide an instant solution, but as a long-term solution. So this is more of a multi-facing project. We're not really thinking about the benefit to us now. It's more future generations are going to benefit like we do today.
And the camera, I imagine, will have a fairly good life. Yeah.
It doesn't have a life expectancy basically because I think it would only get superseded by new technology in reality. It's got a 360-degree view and a 1 kilometre look, so just a single camera has quite a big range.
Yeah. Great opportunity for king salmon, isn't it? They do benefit significantly.
Yes.
The waters up there, and
they see that too.
Great. Yeah. They got the consent back in the days when things were a bit easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's great that there's some significant businesses here looking at it.
Yeah, we're still working to get those over the line, and I guess the more community buy-in we have, the more appealing that's going to look for some of these businesses. There are some other funds we're looking at tapping into, so we're connected with the Top of the South, what they call Top of the South Fund Trust. And they're exploring some options for us at the moment.
Yeah.
So there's some wheels in motion, but nothing's really over the line yet, but they're progressing really nicely.
Great. Doc's budget's not going to cut it, is it?
No, it won't. No, neither will Fenz's. So we've made a start, and it's more about just we want to show the community what we're doing and actually have something tangible at the end of it, so people can go, we get it now. Step.
Great.
Yeah, and then we can lever off that for the rest of the road frontage, and also as a public education piece.
Thanks. I mean, I can see it's that project. I'm just wondering about neighbours. Do they have a play in this? Like, having a problem?
Yeah, sort of. There are mostly dairy farms surrounding it, and we wouldn't sort of perceive them as particularly high risk. They would be negatively impacted by fire at the Springs, but I think it's more the biggest impact would really sit with the community and the country because of being a national town. We're here as the Kaitiaki for in Golden Bay.
I mean, we have opened up a conversation, and it's very much early stages with King Salmon, and that conversation recognises that they are a potential casualty if there is a risk of a fire starting, and we've agreed to keep that conversation going. So that's encouraging to build up a network of interests that can collectively come together to ensure that the reputation of the Springs doesn't become compromised through indifference to the risk of fire.
Just through the chair, a gate, I think it's a really good idea. What's our role in that? TDC would put that, be responsible for putting a gate together up there, I'm assuming, because it's one of our roads. So therefore, and we'll have to notify it. But it shouldn't be a big job, right? It shouldn't be a big process.
Question of the staff, with the Shem, we'll do a conversation with Doc as well.
Yes, I actually should have mentioned, well, not should have, but the group that are coming together to make all this happen, not only the working bee on this coming Saturday, but the longer term initiative around surveillance involves Doc. Unfortunately, they aren't able to be with us here today for other circumstances, and so they would be, we got them as part of our overall project group, and they are a partner in this development.
Okay, and as far as trees, plants getting grown, is there an easy source of getting those trees? Are they readily available? Should we put out to the rest of the community? Because we've got some good organisations such as Project Divine and people like that who are quite active at this sort of thing. So I'm just wondering if there's funding available.
That's the sort of thing we're trying to explore, and as the word gets out and this gains momentum, we start to learn more about these sort of funding opportunities available. That's why the importance of this group, because I know you connect. At the moment, we propagated and grew these plants through orbit history, and the reason we did that is because plants have to be endemic to the local area if they're going to go in the Dock Reserve. But we've also had interest from Department of Corrections to help us. They're coming with people Saturday to help us with the planting, and they've offered support going forward for clearing and stuff like that. But they've also indicated they may be in a position to be able to help us propagate over Motueka. So we took the seeds from here and then propagated here and back. So there are some wheels in motion around that. Good to hear. Yeah. Of course, regardless of where they come from, still,
Doc have estimated that a planting margin to provide resilience or to slow down any fire would need to be 5 metres back from the roadside. So that's the significance of the long-term proposal to.
I wonder how many plants that is.
We talk thousands.
Yeah.
But the working bee on the project on Saturday is the first stage in that. Every big step needs to be preceded by a small step.
We're trying to keep it manageable. So,
yeah.
So we don't want to make it something for the community, but we do really want to generate interest and passion around it.
Any more questions? No, that's great. Thank you so much for your time coming over. Always nice to have you come over. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So let's go on to CJ. CJ, do you need tech? Where is CJ? Oh, all sorts of technical issues today. Right. Do you need tech?
Yeah, we've got a presentation. PowerPoint.
Yeah. Is it? Are we checked up?
Yep, it's fine. We're just trying to finalise the video for panelists.
Oh, thanks. Right. Okay. So I'm not sure where CJ's gone. So should we skip ahead to Jeremy and
So there's that link that I have.
yeah, might as well. It's good they're here waiting. Yeah.
So you got that link, Evan? Yes,
might
I've got it
move.
ready.
Because we can't. I'll shuffle around next to Chris. When it's not really so isn't it? All sorts of tech issues.
This one.
Yeah, I know everyone's staring at us. That's
Oh,
why.
okay.
No, you're all good.
Oh, that was it. Training, but session when we first started.
Oh, no, no, it's fine.
Those
I thought you were going to
Those
come
out there.
to another one here.
But I won't be.
No, it's
They're
never
nice
will.
to actually.
Oh, look, we got.
Yeah. Right, how's it going? Yeah.
Go on then. That's fine. Someone sort it out. Thank you, Jeremy.
Oh, they can't get back in, that's the problem. Alright.
Oh, he's given.
Let's get, well, we're about to take charge.
Mate, you're about to run amok. I don't know why they was fine, but never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Interesting discussions. It wasn't like on. He's the one that goes light on it.
Yes. Right, she's in here. All right.
You know, just put it on the different. You know, the different
Yeah.
minerals. Yeah. You know, you were something.
Okay. Kevin, do you want to, can I, do you need a keyboard to do the slide? Just use the.
Kevin, Anita might be able to help us. She's smarter than him.
Just say
I think
next.
we're right.
Next, okay, all right.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
I think we're good. We're good. Do it again. Right. Gotta get to it.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been. Yeah, right, let's go. I'm gonna kick back into it.
So we just wanted to come here today to give you an update on the plan change we're working on to the Tasman Resource Management Plan. This is plan change 81. If you can flip to the next slide, please. There you go. So this is a presentation that we put together we had like a little workshop earlier with some of the Golden Bay community and business owners. But we basically want to get their feedback on some of the sites that we're looking at rezoning for mainly industrial and business, but we also want to give you guys an update on the land we're looking at for residential and rural residential, and some type of farming. So we thought this would just be a good opportunity to update you all on the site that we're looking at, and also give you a little bit of an update on how that earlier workshop went with the business owners, and just find out if you have any more questions or if you have any concerns. So just looking back, So this plan change is informed by what's called the Future Development Strategy, which we adopted back in 2022. It's a high-level strategy that looks at where we will potentially rezone housing and business land for the next 30 years. That went through a whole process. We did a whole lot of work with the community and stakeholders, and we assessed all the sites in terms of things like flooding and all the different hazards and transportation, infrastructure, all those different things. So it's been through a really thorough process. But now we are re-looking at some of those sites and thinking, okay, can they be serviced within the next 10 years? And if they can, and we know that there's demand for them, then we are looking at including it in this plan change. And as well as some of the sites for rezoning, we're also including a few other things in the plan change, including some changes to workers' accommodation. We're just making it a little bit hopefully easier and straightforward. A few tweaks to some of the noise rules, just to make sure that they're up to date with New Zealand standards. And there's also some work that we did as part of the, when we're looking at doing the Tasman Environment Plan. We did some issues and options report on towns and villages, and we're just incorporating some of that work into this plan change as well.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So as Maya mentioned, this presentation was put together for local Golden Bay industry. So we've just got a couple of slides here that quickly show, sorry, backing up slightly. The FDS showed that there is certainly demand for residential, but there's also demand for business, and particularly industrial. That's what we've heard from a number of more. So there is industrial land. There's some in the town, right in the centre where Solly's is currently. There's a lot around the dairy factory, but it's very low lying, and the Fonterra have said that they are never going to have no intention of utilising, bringing that to market, essentially. Next slide. This big block of industrial, as we know, out at Port Tarakoe, owned by the Butts. That is, I guess the Butts are earmarking that for the marine agriculture industry. Next slide. And there's also some drips and drabs just over on the left-hand side of the picture there, out of Collingwood. So overall, it's very heavily, it's utilised where it can be utilised, where it's available, or it's in the process of being developed. But overall, particularly around the Takaka area, that first slide we showed, we are told that there's a big shortage. Now, the session that we had this morning with the industry people, actually representatives from a wide range, including Paul Hogan, Solly's, engineers, Orange mechanics, so on. They all agree. They all said, yep, there's a real shortage for those homegrown industries, people who need more land, builders, so on. Orange mechanics looking at expanding and so on and so forth. So we do need to keep looking at this. Yep, and this was also played out. So these are just some business stats of the number, the amount of land with our projections say that we need. Now we are very conscious that these are under. We think that they're very. They undershow the picture of how much industrial land we need. From everything we've heard and some other work we've done, we think we need a lot more land than what's actually shown by the consultants. So that's what makes the future development strategy. And there is a sort of uncertainty with small towns. It's sort of well recognised that it's much harder in communities like this to project what sort of land is needed for either industrial or retail and commercial. Yep, skip that one. That was just some feedback, which we got to the industry people. So from the future development strategy, what we're looking at taking forward, we'll go through each of these sites. It's hard to see on this one in a bit more detail. We're looking at bringing forward now probably potentially up to three new industrial sites. I'll run you through where those are. 2 residential sites and a Papakainga location at Marae as well. But yeah, we'll just jump. So the FDS, this was kind of the original FDS industrial site. And for those orientated, that's Page Road. So again, we'll be able to, angling down to the bottom left is Page Road, which comes out. So it's halfway between Showground and Takaka. You can see Whitehaven Engineering on the top left corner there. So it was seen as a good location in some respects because it had a dedicated entranceway. It's got an existing, well located intersection on the state highway. It sits sort of at the back of the Windles farm, up against the base of the hill behind their farm. It's elevated and it's out of the flood area, and it's low productivity land. Those pros on the right hand side there. However, there are of course disadvantages. It is a distance from town. You can't just walk across the road to get a bite in the top shop, and so on and so forth. Most people will end up driving there, and that is that bit more distance from town. There's about 2 or 3 residences up paved road, which will be difficult, but locating industrial land is always a bit challenging, and servicing will be more expensive. It's seen as a longer term option, seen as an option that is really, I guess, 50, 100 years kind of the long term prospect of the town for an industrial park.
Is there a paper road out to Montefiore from there?
Up to Montefiore, no.
Carries on? No.
That red zigzag line above.
Yeah.
No, that's actually put on there as an indicative walkway. So the other thing this map shows is where we were trying to have walking connections, so it actually create that for the location, so you can walk from Sundial Crescent. But again, it's just long term sort of urban planning to try and keep that stop. As far as I know, I don't think that.
What about that road sort of way through the bottom?
Coming down through there. Yeah, now we looked at that. It goes down and crosses Ramekin Creek, and it comes out near the hospital. I mean, it would be possible, but I don't think necessarily any better formation than paved road. So, yeah, but much more substantial angle, probably. The thing, so what we've discussed, we also met with the Windles this morning, and that paved road accesses what we put to them as a land could be formed with underpasses, because they're concerned that the dairy farm will be split apart, which we understand and we get. But if that could be constructed with 1 or 2 underpasses, so still move stock from the top left to the bottom right side of the farm, that could be made to work. And I think they accept that. They see that it's got a long-term prospect, but they put forward a short-term option we'll jump onto. I'm happy to come back with this. Actually, so we just go to the next one. So I'm going to ask you to jump around a little bit. Yeah, so this is what we put together for that meeting. So it was with the Windles this morning. So we just threw that out there because this is really what the Windles wanted us to think about. Now, where we got to in that meeting was that whole area. Firstly, would displace a huge amount of flood water based on flood modelling. Got Brian here to talk more about that, but it does show a large amount of flood water across that particular site and moving with a decent amount of speed. So a smaller option is just using that top right. So you can see the green section that's up against Montefiore Street. That would be the access. Windles own that. And it would flow through really just that block behind Oranges and next to Whitehaven Engineering to rezone that as a short-term, kind of next 10, 15, 20 year option for industrial land. And that would provide probably a finer grain, as the jargon we use, smaller sections that can be used for small businesses that are growing in equal space. The builder, the engineer, or the scaffolder, or whoever who needs some more space, they need to store their stuff, or they want to have a workshop there or whatever, to be able to go into that place there. While we work on that longer term option, say the paved road.
And it would be on the building owner or the land
Yes.
to
Oh, so that,
to develop and to have it high enough up and meet all those regulations.
So you're doing the
So it would
zoning.
be
so
something-
the space that we're working on is the zoning. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We're working on the long term for the whole of the district of have we got enough residential land, business, industrial land, and where we need more, we look for the places that make sense, where everything stacks up, we do the plan change, put that zoning in place, then up to the landowner to apply for the subdivision consent, or the zone, so it's a lot easier. It's all there anticipated, the rules are all there. But yes, there would, as part of doing that resource consent that actually brings it to market, yes, there would need to be, there might be planting requirements, we're talking industrial, part filling.
Well, just in relation to the flood, I guess, so this, it's the flood model is out here for the latest flood modelling for Taupeka.
Yes, I'll do a presentation.
Should we
Oh,
skip-
you'll do that, all right.
Well, while we're on, I just want to, while we're on this one, should we skip down to slide, on a 23 pages here, slide 19? See that? Yeah. No. Did that come close enough?
You're going
Do you want to do the sheet? Okay, sorry about it. Sorry, go back up. Trying to find the sheet, you can hand it up. Makes it easy. Okay, so, thank you. She'll just go back up one. So this was the other industrial site, which had a bit of a lukewarm, it's just at Rangahisa. So over on the right hand side is the turn off to Rangahisa. It's see the airstrip just on the top of the picture there, Carolyn Rose's land. And the old, so that area in blue, that's the third identified possible location for industry. Covers that old site where there was a sawmill. So it's like
That's the old sawmill.
sawmill, yeah. It was enlarged to make it more of a kind of a industrial park precinct, if you like. It doesn't necessarily have to be that big. We're really open to comment on that. Maybe part of the problem we have with zoning any land, especially in smaller communities, is you just zone on one person's land, and then they come along and say, actually, we've got no interest in developing, so you've wasted your time. We're like, no, great, we don't get any supply. So we try and have a variety of sites on a variety of different landowners with the hope that one of them or two of them will come forward and actually bring it to market. So it's not easy. So it may be that it's just, you know, sawmill site and that top part there might be enough in this area to provide for a contractor's yard, you know, whether Solly's do look at eventually moving or not out to this location or some reason.
I think there's two things there. One is getting off and on the main highway, especially
Exactly.
where that is. That's going down a very blind dip and quite difficult to come off and on the state highway.
Yeah, no, we looked at the only way to access that would be to bring a road along to the middle of that long stretch.
Yeah.
Stretch, and I don't actually even know then if you quite meet your sign line.
Yeah, it's probably quite close. And Merv did mention it would cost him 15 million to shift, and he's not particularly interested in shifting.
Probably a hypothetical move might be.
Yeah.
Fulton Hogan might be another one who might.
Yeah.
So yeah, interested in feedback on that. But we'll just work through the rest of the slides. Thank you. So that is Merv's site. I'm sorry, go back up one. That is Merv's site in town. We've included that. As you say, a few years ago when we spoke to him, he was like, "Oh, yeah, well, maybe." And now he's very sounds particularly likely. So the ideal location for that would be to take that as housing. It's reasonably elevated actually from a flood point of view, and it's obviously very, very close. And you know, it's fantastic from an urban forward function point of view.
So if we wanted him to shift though, if we were really kind of keen, would we subsidise that to make that happen? If we really wanted that to change the whole location and make it better in town,
We being ratepayers.
we being ratepayers, yes.
I guess that would be. Well, I mean, it would be interesting because that land would be an insignificant amount of value. Sure. I'd actually be interested in how the number that you worked out for that. You know, sure, it might be 15 million for him to move, but what's the value of that land for residential zoned, hard fill, serviced residential land ready to go? Now this is the balance, same site, just highlighted the other block. Again, Carolyn Rose's land, it's sloping, it's Pakahi, iron pan based, relatively low productivity. The drainage is not wonderful, but again, it's quite elevated. And so we identified this one as a good location for rural residential. So essentially, a location self-service, what we call lifestyle blocks location. That's what I suppose you could. Yeah, it's a rural residential location. Similar, I suppose, to what you might see at Rangahisa, although you might try and get a little bit more density out of it. A lot of Rangahisa, it's quite low density. There is a question mark that people raise that we're open to about the airstrip. It's obviously caused significant problems in Motueka, it continues to. None of us want to make bad long-term decisions, but whether that aerodrome is ever going to be as troublesome and as noisy as the Motueka one, a little bit of crystal balling inside. But it does seem a bit of a stretch that a lifestyle block kind of typology up there is going to be as problematic. It's a big bit of land, as I'm sure you know. It's a long way. But you can get good separation from the aerodrome.
Completely different situation to Motueka, isn't it? And the issues that Motueka specific. And you know, how many flights a day are coming in and out, even on a busy weekend, if it was busy. you know, and I guess people would buy there, knowing planes going to pop along every now and then. You know, if you think about how many houses are down at Langahata and planes coming out and people live with it, you don't want to be by an airport, don't buy there. But there'd be
That's
people,
kind of
I'm
where we
sure
got to.
people would buy a couple of hectares and not be too worried about it.
YouTube, I thought, aren't they?
No.
Okay, next one, maybe we come back to you later to say, okay, all right.
This is just showing, so when we did the FGs and now when we're doing the planning change, we have to consider all of these constraints and opportunities. And some of the constraints, we have Taka, the flooding that we talked about and we'll come back to, but also the highly productive land. So you can see here that a lot of Taka is surrounded by LUC3 land, which is considered to be highly productive. So that's the type of land that we're trying our best to avoid. And that has, we've got what's called the natural policy statement for highly productive land. So basically, if we want to rezone land on highly productive land, it's a lot more, it's harder for us to do, basically. We do like cost benefit analysis and
Just out of curiosity, on the highly productive land area, are people actually utilising it, or is it just sitting there and saying that it's highly productive, but no one's actually highly producing from it?
it doesn't
That
really
makes sense.
in terms of the natural policy statement for highly productive land, it doesn't mean that people are using it. But they do disregard any urban area, so you can see all the middle bit there, because it's already built up and developed, it's not considered.
But it is, it's really, the approach it takes is to keep it as a resource for the future, whatever form that may be.
That makes sense.
So the land at Page Road that you're looking at
Yeah, so you can see,
potentially is a light industrial there. Surprising to think of it as being not highly productive, but is that because there's a change in the soil type
Yeah,
up on there?
I think it still comes on at LEC.
yeah, and you can see that more, kind of hard to see.
Yeah, so the LEC 3, that's the minimum. So there's actually LEC 1, which is the best, LEC 2, which is pretty good, and like that Class D. So there's different systems.
Mm.
We go to, and then LEC 3. So we've got nice with that heading means obviously LEC 3 and above. LEC 3 is the lowest, and it's actually, when I've looked around, it's marginal, basically just kind of sheep grazing country. LEC 3. So we have an awful lot of highly, technically, highly productive. The word from the current government is that they want to remove the LUC3 classification from the end. That we have to work under.
LEC3 would be highly productive.
So it would just be LUC1 and 2 would be considered highly productive land.
Mm. And in terms of the land up there, that's LUC 3.
Yes,
Just very quickly, because that must be 1, 2, and 3 there.
well, I can't do it on that one, but yeah. No, this is all LEC3, I checked.
LUC1 or 2.
Oh, that's LEC3, right?
Okay, all right.
So it's all, yeah, all LEC3.
Oh, yeah, probably because we can find this as
Yeah.
well.
Counterintuitive, isn't it? When you
Yeah.
look across the farmland there, that you know, there's paddocks of grass and then some of them are.
Yeah, well, to be honest, actually, Wendell said that, it's like, yeah, sure, it is a bit more productive down on the flat by town, but you take a big chunk out of the dairy farm, they said down here it might grow that much more grassy, than that, but up there. So it's not actually going to change much from a productivity point of view. What a lot of this has done is the potential for doing things like intensive horticulture. So your hops and your hemp, that's actually been done a lot of the time. You can use it for intensive horticulture. And in the LUC system, we are told it's actually quite limited. We use, sorry, I get quite into it here, but the LUC system, land use classifications covers the whole of the country.
Very cool.
It's very broad and very generic, which is why we at TAS have quite a long time developed a PLC, it's productive land. And that takes into account water availability, climate factors, everything you need, growing degree days, all that sort of stuff, in order to work out how productive the land is. We've got a new model that we've been working on for quite a while, but we haven't landed yet. And the NPS that we have to work under specifically refers to LUC. So we're trying to do the rest of it. It's not there yet to actually be able to use our PLC.
If we had a map up here with the PLC, you would see like a whole lot of different sort of types, but for this it's just like you see here.
But what the NPS does allow us to do is, if there's nowhere else, just you have to sort of compare it word. But it says you can rezone that land if there's nowhere else. There's another location which is just as good and it's lower productivity. Use that instead. But in the case of Tarkin, every production obviously up. Possibly hell or whatever. It's all
Fell asleep at school.
Oh, I know. This is.
That's just again the rest of the.
And did you have it last night?
So in terms of changes to workers' accommodation, we are thinking about amending the definition and the policy framework. So at the moment, the definition is quite out of date and constraining. It basically says that where the people live and where they shower and the kitchen facility are separate buildings. People don't really like that. So we want to change the definition to allow both separate buildings, but also
Right.
Okay. Oh, I don't think I want to touch the food.
we'll probably make it more of a controlled activity, which is a bit more straightforward. You things that it will be subject to. Hopefully it's a lot more straightforward.
Big
Where
organisation.
can they be?
Workers' accommodation.
Are they restricted to?
About
Yeah, be rural zone. Yeah, so in residential zone, you can do all that stuff anyway. In residential there, you can put in.
Yeah,
So this is to enable your farm to put in, whatever sort of wood installation. Rather than this, the definition I had before was very kind of classic works accommodation, different units and your centralised solution.
meeting
And
now.
yeah.
Funny.
Something much.
I was just more in line with Port Tarakoe and what's potentially happening down there.
They got a white pig.
Tarakoe and how the workers.
Yeah, we're thinking about that, but they did say that they were working down there.
What I was saying.
Really? Really?
I don't know what they got in mind for there.
Oh, the amount of muscles coming through, it's going to be extra jobs.
Right, aware of them. If they have the bus, no.
No,
There's no question. Okay, all right.
Well, if you look at this, then where does the
He hasn't.
highly productive land issue come in? Like that another factor about, yes, you can build this, but not there.
Highly productive land. So there's two different things, zoning work versus activities. There is still a limitation in the age.
Later.
That's what we have to work on, which says that it makes an allowance for workers' accommodation for workers that work on the property. That's right. Yeah, so it seems to have this very quaint old-fashioned view that, you have your workers for your farm, and that's how that works, etc. But, for larger industrial farms and, people leasing and RSE workers and all that sort of thing, it's just not the way it works. So we've been pushing quite hard with the ministry to make sure that item is on the agenda. I think several other councils realise this too. So I think that's there. We're just going to have to keep pointing that out as we go through the phase of reviewing the NPS. The current government's looking to do it. They want to take it out of Z3 and free up various aspects because there are some things that don't work. That's one of them. So I think we would see workers' accommodation ideally being able to be built on rural land and reasonably flexible because at that age you've got to have workers to actually be able to, you can keep as much land, locked up, ready to use for the future as you want. But if you aren't actually haven't got the tools to actually use it productively. So to actually enable the workers to be there efficiently, whether it's RSE or whatever, to actually be able to get the product out, the production of them.
Wouldn't you then have to enable people who've got high productive land to do the same, or provide residential properties, like.
Well, I guess it's providing for workers' accommodation, but without providing for subdivision. So what that won't allow is for the subdivision, because that's the thing that fragments the land over time. Sort of, yeah. We're trying to tread a bit of a line here because in the past the TRMP has taken a very, very risk averse view and it's tried to tried to define everything, kind of take a very firm view on everything. A lot of things need consent, a lot of things need to meet a certain specific definition to apply, trying to avoid those effects. I think we're just taking a little bit more of a line of, look, we just need to it'll be okay. We just need to allow people to get on and get some stuff done, because trying to kind of micromanage everything actually doesn't really work. That's really constrained. That's where we see a lot of limitation around, houses and workers' accommodation and all sorts of areas, because we've sort of tried to micromanage everything through the plan. And there might be some adverse effects. There might be some things that actually don't work that well. There might be some bad outcomes, but for every bad outcome, we hope that actually it'll free it up.
I was just wondering, are you sort of developing this in conjunction that the changes to the proposed changes to the additional small
Granny flats?
Yeah, granny flats, because I mean there'll be a lot of crossover on a lot of rural properties where those would be workers' accommodation.
Yeah.
2 or 3 of those on a farm,
There's a number of things the government's doing which are kind of stealing our thunder. Our idea of it. So that will help. I mean, that's only come out recently. We've been working on this for years.
Right.
But I guess that's the power of central government.
So just to think about having 2
Yes,
sort of streams of work.
Yeah.
That's sort of
Nothing that we do here will be inconsistent with that. Yeah, it will help.
Yeah.
We're generally in support of it.
Yeah.
That everything that we have, but I'm going to chat to you about flooding. If I'm not really like.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe just even ask the question. Oh, you can give us
Yeah, well, so the question is still in draft. They're just trying to find a couple of things about if excess gravel comes out or not, what effects that has.
Right.
But the premise for the rest of the data is all good to go. So it's a draft.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
Just a quick So the original model was developed in 2010. It was the first model developed for Tasman itself. So flood modelling moved on since that time. Back in the day, it was just put water down the river and see how much it did. Now it's about putting rain over that whole suit. So we get a bit realistic flood patterns. The resolution is increased. So for the old flood model, as you had up there, 2010, it was 6 metre cell size. So trying to look on a property level was quite difficult because it's not going to give you a depth over 6. So now we're down to 1 metre. So it gives you a lot better sort of property scale information. And another improvement of the new model is it's got a climate change scenario as well. So with climate change, it's actually been more increased fire intensity rainfalls. Another thing up here, the extent has increased. So the new model extends all the way down to Craigieburn Creek. And this is not too far up from the coast. Next slide. And the beauty with this model, we really went through it and tried to calibrate it against past events. So 83 images aren't shown here, but we used all the data we had and some of the long-term hydrologists at our council, 40 years experience. We really worked closely with the modeler to try and get a model as close to reality as we thought. So before a calibration was undertaken, the model had a hell of a lot of water coming out of the valley and quite significantly deeper than it is currently. But then looked at the valley's geology, obviously it loses a lot. There's the sinkholes and that car system that goes down, so it goes on the ground. So we worked closely with calibrators and then calibrated back to events with photos and brought it back to match reality a little bit. So yeah, next slide. Yeah, so the outcomes of the model, the actual new model, obviously with climate change, does put quite a bit more water through to the south and throughout the whole model. And even the new model with its current 100-year flows, it's probably 100 to 200 mils deeper through part of Taki than a previous model predicted. And yeah, so the other one with this work in the background as well, I've been trying to plug away for a while now to get this data publicly available to the public so they can view it. Make decisions. And finally, we've got some traction with the IAS stuff. Looks like we'll have something out to the public, hopefully in the next 3 or 4 months.
You can see by that photo there, the new proposed industrial zone would get quite a lot of water on it.
Yeah, this photo is taken quite long after peak because apparently the wind was saying 3 o'clock in the morning, so that's one long time.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's good little river there down there heading towards oranges.
I'm not really
White
into rules.
Yeah.
And I've got some printouts of the box there. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so sorry, we've got one more slide.
One more slide.
One more slide. Yep. Anyway, sorry. Well,
They probably know it.
yeah, probably. Sorry, one more slide that we are now including in Plan Change 81, which is the discussion with Bagi and MP, Kahotu Renee. Okay, it's great. Is to rezone Marae to Papakonga zone. So it's currently a residential zone, which does allow for some development, but there's the Papakonga zone allows for a lot more freedom for a range of activities that suit Papakonga development. So yeah, just want to make you aware of that.
So just that we're looking at the moment, the Marae there's the house, which was the old school house, which you can see on the left in the front. And the Marae was, I think, almost over the boundary, or too close to that boundary. So the new ablution box is going to be, see down the bottom here where the tennis court is, it's sort of going to be just in there to the right, which is the shed and then the right. But we are looking at being maybe able to put some other kind of modular flat in there. Like if we shift that, the schoolhouse, the house there called 400, which is the one in the left corner. Right. Right. Yeah, that's the option. Not a lot of room. And horrible.
Nothing to
Not
comment on
included in the
that.
resident.
So that might,
We don't need the. Yeah.
but it is still the FDS, so we just mentioned. What was also coming down the train track is that the announcement last week and the week before that the government does want to do again, requiring us to rezone 30 years. So this is 10 years worth, we make it to rezone 30 years, so it might be change 81 on some point. Not that that'll bring forward any infrastructure, but
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. Yeah, sorry, we do have to rush
Yes,
through
no,
the
sorry.
technical difficulties this afternoon. We've got groups that need to be places, but if we get questions, we will.
yeah, let us know. You don't have to be.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, my feeling is this is very- feeling people. You make the right- You're good, thank you. Right.
Postpone my next meeting.
Thanks, CJ, appreciate it. Right. Penguins. Sorry about the wait. We just had to get everything technological sorted. Now we're back with you, so really appreciate you waiting.
So I'm Angela, some of you know me, I'm on the Hill Penguin Trust. I am predominantly involved with field work on the ground at Contact Tower currently. I'll give you all a quick update of what's happening with the penguins this year. It's about that you would be interested. So I thought they were coming in, they had signs of laying early this year. Last year was around the 17th of July. There was nothing whatsoever. We had a few eggs a couple of weeks ago and they had just started laying now. The middle of, coming to the middle of August or so. For some reason, not that we know much for the monitoring, they seem to be rather late this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out with mortality rates at the end of it if they have to abandon because molting comes in, and yeah, it's all see how it goes. So, but at the moment, the eggs, yeah, they're coming in, the birds are all looking good, the nest boxes are great. They all seem to be playing swingers parties, switching gears and jumping in the neighbour's box, and I don't know who's where. It's hard to keep track of. Every other year they've been quite consistent where they are, but this year, yeah, something's gone and played musical boxes or something. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Summary, but anyway, that's that bit. So why we're here is from Dog Bible that's coming up. We have a couple of videos that will show you first off. These are from here from Tadman Bay Penguin Trust. And we thought we'd do a few guides too. Yeah, no, the London ones first. Yeah.
I can hear the penguins.
The reason we were attracted to penguins, they were the inspiration from the point of view that they are so small and they battle so hard to survive. They've got so many challenges, and a lot of those are imposed by us, by humans, that they just need a fairer deal. We've got to learn to live with our little blues, and yet they, in their own right, they've adapted really well to what we've imposed on them, but we need to do better to live with them.
The biggest animal threats to penguins when they're present on land is the whole suite of mammalian predators that we have. The mustelids, stoats, weasels, ferrets, cats can eat penguins, rats do eat birds' eggs, hedgehogs, and possums have been seen going in penguin burrow. Possums eat birds, young birds. Dogs are the single most significant and preventable cause of death for little penguins in urban areas. Even the supposedly best controlled dog that gets a scent of penguin blowing from some bushes, it'll be off. And a dog can be in there and just chomp and out again in 20 or 30 seconds. If you want to be quite certain that your dog is never going to kill a penguin, then the dog needs to be on the leash at all times.
So one of the challenges that the penguins have is that our residential development is encroaching on their habitat, and it's getting more and more. The first houses came along, and generally they were on stilts, and so the penguins adapted. They thought, I can nest under there. And then what's happening now is that we've got more and more houses coming, and they're not on stilts anymore, they're on concrete pads, and so that's impossible for a penguin to adapt to. The encroaching residential development makes nest boxes really quite important in the whole scheme of things, because with residential development come people and come dogs, and dogs are very interested in penguins. The nest box just creates a little fortress for the penguin, and they can better defend themselves here. It's not 100%, but it's better. Where the public or beachgoers can really help this whole process is they can support beach cleanups, they can support predator trapping, and they can also sponsor nest boxes. The latest couple of penguins we had in for rehab got the nickname of Paddle and Snapper. The story was some people got up one morning and they have an outside bath, and lo and behold, here are a couple of very stressed penguins. And what had happened overnight, in their frantic panic to get out, the male penguin had ripped one nail out completely, and the female had worn two nails right down to the quick. It's a very sensitive part. Their feet were cleaned up and bandaged
for a couple of days. They were given antibiotics as a precaution to prevent infections. They were given about a month to just get the nails healed sufficiently that they didn't keep re-bleeding. I have a special aviary and a pool complex where we rehabbed them. We also gave them plenty of fish so that they went back out and climbed body weight. So if people come across an injured or sick penguin, the best thing they could do is call the DOC hotline, and where possible, keep them warm, keep them dark, otherwise just stay with them. As far as protecting them, you know, if you're out on beaches and whatnot, keep your dog on a leash.
And then the very, very dark, which is short. Chocolate fish that we would make penguins now.
They've been eaten. Dogs to be kept on leash after a spate of attacks on penguins. It's thought 9 have been killed by dogs there since October, and a warning Jessica Roden's story includes images of dead penguins.
Hundreds of penguins call bays like Little Cape Teddy Teddy home, but a spate of lethal attacks has professionals questioning their safety. I was absolutely gutted, devastated to then learn who they actually were, just to look at the photos. I could tell it had been a pretty awful death. 9 penguins have been killed since October. 3 were found dead just last weekend. 2 of them have been monitored for 3 years. This pair in particular are fabulous breeders. They've done really well and they try so hard. And to come to a grizzly end like that, it's just not acceptable. The Department of Conservation classifies little penguins as at risk or declining, saying the greatest risk is from dogs. From the postmortems, the evidence is that it was a dog attack. Unfortunately, we've seen this more and more. Penguins are protected by the Wildlife Act. For dog owners who break the law could face fines or jail time.
You have to be able to identify the dog, identify the person. That's very, very difficult to do, but not impossible.
And there are rules in place.
You have to have your dog under control. You have to have your dog in a line of sight, responding to your calls or on a leash.
These boxes have been set up to protect the penguins. No one knows. But there's calls for better monitoring, mandatory leash wearing, and more dog parks. Our very real risk is that the penguins here will become locally extinct. These penguins have been rehabilitated by Mana Stratton, and it's the kind of work she'd prefer to be doing. It's, you know, the fact that I'm getting so many, that's really, really getting tough. While concerns remain for the penguin population left behind. Jessica Roden, One News.
Right, so while that's focused at Kaitieri, people always think that dog attacks, you can see an eviscerated penguin. 3 different occasions we've picked up birds here that are just dead. They, no obvious cause of death, couldn't feel any breakages, anything through there. I was present when 2 of them got opened up to have a look, and they were just blood bags on the inside. So people go, oh, dogs, you know, you'd know if the dog did it. So we don't know how many dog attacks at all the beaches in the bay that we've got here on penguins. We just don't know because they look like dead birds, you know, just dropped dead rather than killed. The question I sort of want to ask and put forward is why one of our native species, protected species, are on the decline, that the top preventable predator is allowed free run in the area of 43 these areas. And that predator numbers have increased over 20% in 10 days since 2002. Perhaps we need dog-specific exercise areas, dogs on lead, of course. It's not sustainable to allow predators in areas with threatened farming wildlife. How can that work in the long term? Any questions?
I imagine you'll be submitting.
Someone will
submission.
Yeah, the trust will be,
Yeah. There's quite a bit of detail, you know, in the
Yeah.
and there's some good documents in there around the what's changed and why, and so certainly be looking for your thoughts
Yeah,
around
we'll
that.
put it
You're going to do another.
At some point, yeah, so it'll be very, very thin on the ground at the moment. There is a plan to, with Mena having passed away, we, yeah, there will be, we're not sure yet. So there is another, sorry, Mena, the penguin detection dog, Alistair from the Kaikoura Ocean Research Institute, who did he does have another dog up and coming, but there is also one up north, but it is several $1,000s to get them down there. And that money needs to be, yeah, but we would also do that in conjunction with our Comedy Blue Hill as well, so. But yeah, it is sort of a 2 or 3 week process to cover the whole day.
We probably need to keep moving on. If no one's got any pressing questions, just 'cause we've still got another public forum and CJ's been waiting for her turn to.
I moved my meeting that was mounted, so it's okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, CJ.
Appreciate you. Apologies again for the wait, and thank you for all the hard work that you do with the Little Blues. I actually saw
They're not
some.
cute, they're angry and they hold on like vice.
I had to stop taking them for 2 that were fighting.
Yeah, oh, no, they were like, seriously, they were.
Yeah.
They were,
Oh,
yeah, they're vicious on each other, but.
They
you
were
know,
angry.
But a dog gets a hold of that neck and.
Yeah, it's done.
What can we do?
What can we
do you
do?
want TDC to do? Really?
I
Is there
think
best-
having dog exercise
control
areas, so the
Yeah.
dog control bylaw, dog exercise
Sorry, I'm
areas.
just
At the
gonna-
moment, dogs aren't allowed in the summer months on beaches, but generally the birds aren't nesting and burrowing, you know, all our birds at the moment are, not just penguins, but other birds, just sort of different. So we probably clear signage as well. I know if people have more of a clearer thing, where they can and can't go, rather than.
They are working on signage.
Right.
Cross.
Yeah, because at the moment you can go from this month to this month, from this date to this date, on that location, and then this location is free range, and then that location it's, I mean.
It is really confusing as a dog owner.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I have been a dog owner and I love dogs dearly, but I just, you know, we're not trying to protect, but, you know, yeah, it's not what dog there is. We've got to do something. Yeah, there's just so many issues for our threatened species, and if we can just prevent some of them, then definitely give them a fighting chance.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, people.
Thank you, Angela.
So we'll click into Duncan. Duncan, thank you so much for waiting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Duncan, are you there?
Yep. Hang on.
Duncan.
You might have had to go and deal with
Yeah,
it.
fine. Hang on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You talking?
Can you hear me?
I don't
Hello?
I don't think he's there. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Who are your 6 participants?
Can you hear me?
Duncan, Joe, and Tracy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she says I can hear Duncan.
Oh, right, we
You
can't.
need to unmute it.
Well, it is on you. We have.
Turn the volume up.
No, but have you muted it from this end?
Thank you, Joe.
Maybe put his
We've
camera
got
on.
technical. Yeah, put his camera on maybe.
Yeah. I'll just get it. Yeah. There we go.
You there? You there? Hello?
We've got to go get him.
Are you there?
Why is our meeting room? Yeah. Well, if they can hear him, Joe said she can hear him.
I can see and hear her.
That's weird, that's weird.
Yeah, I'll be feeding back.
Very crazy. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hello? You hear me?
There we can.
Yes.
Thanks, Duncan.
Okay. Look, I won't keep you. Just before I start, on the back of that last presentation, just be careful how draconian you your approach to these dog controls, because we'll have quite the fight for that. But I'm actually here to talk about the town's flowers. I coordinate and grow out the town's hanging baskets. Normally I do that at the Sustainable Living Centre. The Maori Trust there has taken down the rather large propagation shed, which has meant there's no venue for me to do the growing, planting, etc. Grant was motioning to get some discretionary money to build a propagation shed, which as yet hasn't come to fruition. So I'm quite concerned about this year's flowers. There's a few $1,000s worth that are coming here in mid-September. I don't have a venue to do anything with them. I'm working on the Sustainable Living Centre, but talking to Lynn Hall, she's very good about building a shed or the possibility of building a shed to facilitate this long term. But this year's problem is that I need some resources and some space to do the baskets for this coming year. Lynn's told me there's no budget for her to contribute anything towards sundry expenses to make that happen. I'm going to need some timber. I'm going to need some, there's going to be overheads, timber, perhaps some rounds of, to try and construct something to get the baskets off the ground, perhaps covered, and then we can sort of pull off a makeshift grow this year and look towards getting the shed next year. I don't see it as being a lot of money, but at the moment, no one's really putting their hand up to help me out and say, you can use this land, or you can, there's a few $100 in the kitty to help towards procuring some shade cloth or some stakes or poles or timber or whatever I need. It's I've been waiting for a while and no one's really putting their hand up to help me this year. So if it doesn't happen quickly, I don't know what's going to happen to the thousands of dollars worth of flowers that are due here in mid-September. And yeah, so any ideas or anything, it will be appreciated.
So have you found a space, Duncan, for
No, I haven't found space. I'm waiting to hear back from the Sustainable Living Centre. But this is going to require a lot of effort on my part again to get this done, because it's going to mean I have to, I've got to organise the timbers. There's 160 or so of these baskets, so they all have to basically sit up off the ground in their own grow space. And there's got to be an area there where people can help me pot them up. There's 20, 30 people that help me pot them up. There's quite a lot of moving parts to doing this, and not having the propagation shed there has been a real, for whatever crazy reason they took it down, it's quite a problem for me now. So, but all I'm looking for is the commitment for some resources, if required, because I might be able to beg, borrow and steal quite a lot of things I need, that someone is there to support that.
So we need some space and some money.
Yeah, I don't know how much money I'll need as yet, because I've perhaps sourced some shade cloth, but there will be some overheads. There's guaranteed to be some overheads. I'm hoping to borrow for some timber from ITM, for example, and return it. Maybe get one of the arborists in to help me with some half rounds. But there could be transport costs. There could be timber costs, fixings. It won't be. I should imagine it'll be a lot, but someone needs to say yes. There's some money in the kitty you can apply for to get this done, because at the moment they're just saying there's nothing in my budget. I can't help you.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely money in the budget, Duncan, but as you've just said, you do need an idea of what you need, costs involved, how it's going to be managed, and then you can apply through either the discretionary fund or
time's against me now, because I was led to believe that there was you guys were going to agree on a suitable propagation shed, and I was kind of under the impression we were pushing towards getting that built this year. So I've only been told recently that's not going to happen. So now I'm really quite up against the bureaucratic process on this, and it's more about being able to say, hey, look, I've purchased $200 worth of this, $300 worth of that to make this happen, and we're not going round and round the mulberry bush.
I might just tag in Lynn. Duncan, that's a great suggestion. Lynn, have you got any site ideas?
Right, hopefully I've got my technology sorted here. Good. Honestly, we Parks and Reserves contributes probably almost $5,000 a year to the hanging baskets, and we just really don't have budget to put into more, another slice of work or more resources at this point of time. I believe we contributed towards the original shade house at the community gardens, which has since been demolished for reasons, as Duncan said. I'm not quite sure what they were, but it has been demolished. I know we're looking towards and will probably support the construction of a new shade house as a permanent thing going forward. But this is just a real short-term ask from Duncan. I completely understand and agree with what he is asking for. The hanging baskets have to be stored off the ground somewhere, and right now we don't have anywhere that can happen.
Is there anywhere in Richmond it could be done, Lynn, and then transported over the hill just for this one-off time? One of our board members made that suggestion.
That would be really expensive.
Yeah, I think it would be expensive as well. We truck over potting mix and the flowers and trays. It would be quite a big deal to bring over baskets that have been made up, 160 of them. But nothing's impossible. But again, it's where the budget comes from, really.
I mean, like say, there is money there, and the community board is supportive of this project, but we are yet to have been given any concrete figures, or this is where we can do it, this is where we're going to put the shed, or this is where we're going to set up temporarily. We need that information before we can just go handing out money.
Yeah, but the shed discussion happened around the community housing project here that Grant was kindly championing, and then last time I spoke to Grant, he said that you guys had collectively agreed that it wasn't going to happen at the co-housing for reasons that weren't expressed to me. So
there was no proposal, Duncan. I think there's been some miscommunication. There's been no information from us to us as to where or how it's going to happen, and that's all we're looking for.
Well, you might want to talk to Grant about that, because I've got a series of communications with him regarding the co-housing development.
Okay.
And he told me that collectively you guys said it wasn't going to happen there, had to happen on council land.
No, I think there's been some miscommunication. So leave it with us.
No, because that's what happened.
Yeah, leave it with us, Duncan, and we will come back to you with a way that you can apply for the funding.
Okay, that'd be great. Because as I said, the flowers are already ordered, so you don't want to be compromising the thousands that you've already put into this, Lynn.
Yeah, that's right.
Correct. No, we don't. And can I just throw in, because Duncan and I have sort of bandied about possibly as a permanent site, but we think there will probably be better permanent sites. But we have talked about up at the recycle centre, up at the recycling plant. And I still wonder, Duncan, is there a possibility, because it is all locked, whether...
Well, I don't think that's a particularly great site at all, and for people to, because I need 20, 30 people to help me put these things together.
I don't want to
get it out of town. It's not particularly conducive, but I did put you on.
Sorry, Duncan, I'm just gonna pause you there. I don't want to get sucked into a discussion about location now, because it's not really forward. I'll just quickly chuck in a suggestion that you might want to talk to Teresa and Terry along Able Tasman Drive, Montepippi. But leave it with us for.
I've done that, I think, yeah.
All right, so we'll come back to you, Duncan, with some ideas.
Good eye, thank you.
We really appreciate your time and effort on this because they are beautiful.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks, Duncan.
Bye.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of public forum. Holy moly, there is no way my children are getting picked up on time. Yeah, you do. Sorry about the wait, Claire.
No worries. I just wanted to come and chat to you, or Grant suggested I did after one of my hats I wear at council was doing as the welfare manager for emergency management stuff. But as part of my community development hat within council, I've also been really working with small communities around community emergency preparedness plans. So the scenario I kind of run is, you know, Alpine Fault Level 8 has happened, and Nelson and Wellington and Christchurch are all munted, and Golden Bay is going to be on its own for a month. And if we kind of work as that as a standard, then how are we going to look after ourselves? And comms are down, roads are out, so it's little communities. So I, a couple of years back, created a draft plan for communities to work with, and then Kathy and Joe from Nelson Tasman Emergency Management have beefed it up and created this document, which I'm now using with communities. There's several parts to it, but I've got communities that I'm currently working with. Pakawa, Puponga, Mangarakau, Collingwood. Andy Clark is kind of leading a charge with Parapara, Millport, Tukurua, Onikaka, and Purumahoe. Tukurua and Onikaka have already met. Kotinga and Amatoki, Clifton, Pohara Valley, Tata, and Liga. So they're all areas where I've got kind of community champions wanting to step up and make these plans a real thing. I've still got quite a few other areas to kind of find that central person to sort of hold it, and then they get a bit of a group around them. So upper, you know, the Takaka Hill, Upper Takaka, Urupenoa, East Takaka, Waikato Pupu, Takaka Town, Wainui, Bain, and kind of whatever areas up Aorere that would clump together. But my mission is to try and have all of those little communities have a plan that's alive and that they update each month, each year, to make sure it's still relevant. And the plan has maps of what they consider their natural boundaries, lists of the resources within their community that are useful, and names and of people who are going to be in need. So kind of get a good picture of what's available and who's going to need help. And then also they run through scenarios of, if there's a big fire coming and the wind direction is this, where would we go? What's going to be a good place to go? If there's a tsunami, if Taranaki blows up in this big tsunami, where would we go? And it's involved things like in Pakawa, that there's a locked gate on a farm that leads up the hill, so they've now got a key hidden nearby that the community will know about. So if they needed to rush up there with vehicles, they could. So it's that kind of level of local planning that I'm really keen for all of our communities to have amongst themselves. And the likes of Tyler and that have been doing a fantastic job with the farms, having satellite farms and generators and stuff. And a lot of those dairy farms are connected really well to the local community. So I want the whole community to mesh in with what the farms have too. Hey?
Tyler got a set phone.
There's several farms in the bay that have not got set phones, yeah. I don't know if she does, but there's several farms that do.
No, I know some, I just didn't realise that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah. So just wanting to kind of, the farmers are ahead of the game, but I'm wanting to bring the communities forward. And so really I'm just letting you know as what I'm up to. And if there's people in those communities I haven't got a key figure for, them, please make suggestions. How do they connect the bigger picture Like,
Well, it depends on the level of communication available in an emergency. So in the August floods, I had connectivity all over the bay with people. And so I was just checking in, and so I would, like, I phoned Joan Riley and said, can you walk along Selwyn Street and tell me how the flooding's looking for houses? But she did, and then reported back, you know. Phoned Carolyn McClellan and said, what's happening up the valley, you know, and she gave me 3 other numbers of people who were connected. So
yeah, but that's
when
just,
comms are up, it's easy. But when it's not, these communities, we're linking up with the radios. Who has a radio? Who doesn't? Who has a sat phone? How do we make sure we've got the numbers? So we're doing everything we can to connect them in an emergency. But
but
again,
how will someone outside all the system know who the key people are?
because they're in a community, so they're talking to themselves. I'm not doing it. I'm just supporting. I'm not. I do not own the plan. The community owns the plan, and so they create their connectivity.
But I'm talking about outside the community. So,
What is the things response?
yeah, the wider, so
Well, there's-
somebody in the wider civil defence response team needs to know, don't
Yes.
they, who the key people are in each
Yeah,
community.
so that's all in the plan, but it's what emergency management know and make use of is kind of less important than the community's resilience. Because if they're
Right.
offline, the first layer for me is the communities know what they're doing and that they're connected
Yeah,
with their
okay, I
neighbours
get
and
that.
stuff. And then if we have comms, then I'll be in the centre here, or one of my alternates, and they will connect with the plan, with the people who are
Yeah,
the lead
that's
names
one
on the
question.
plan,
Yeah.
and then that will go to Richmond and up the food chain. There is a chain. There is a chain, absolutely. But what's been missing is the local connectivity, and so my mission is really for the communities to own their plans. And so I'm just trying to be the energy to get them going on that connectivity at a local level.
Just
Question?
Is there one comment with, I was at the meeting in Onekaka on Saturday.
with Andy
With Andy, and really good turnouts, 20 odd people there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was right down to the individual residents on each street. Like, we've got a blind person here, we've got this person's got
So good, yeah.
who's going to walk along. And then it doesn't really matter whether we're in touch with the outside or not, just leave it there.
That's it.
Our own sort of street level.
Yeah.
You know, where our neighbours are too. And there's a bit of a, hierarchy as to who's, I can walk down my street and then I can go over to Andy and let him know what sort of Tupperware sort of cabinet things about it.
Yeah.
It's really good. So yeah, really useful and quite empowering.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I went at the Collingwood meeting, when you were out there, and, I was thinking about, and brought it up there, and, I was thinking about, because you talk about generators, and you've got generators, and, but I was thinking about the hall, so Bainham Hall and maybe Papawai Hall, just getting them fitted out electrically, electrically.
The word.
To, be able to have people that are farming down the road, bring the generator up, plug it in, and that the halls are set for that.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing I thought about was Starlink and having a Starlink set up at Collingwood for their needs out there. Yeah. And I thought they were things the board might think were good ideas for or support, or how do we get those things activated? Really good use of special projects. So yeah, that would be marvellous. And I think where there are groups that are active and sort of doing really well, and I think there'll be little communities who probably don't even know that's happening so much, despite adverts and things. And I was thinking about at home and sort of who's around us, and so there's something about how to get them too, isn't it? Yeah, and so I mean I kind of have loose plans around how to do it, and it's making use of all those lead people at the moment and actually getting them to have completed plans. And then I'm sure the GB Weekly will be happy to run another kind of article about this is how far we've got, are you interested in your area? Like me, I've got a list of where I'm missing at the moment. So my mission is to really have all of Golden Bay have plans for 2 years' time, and then to really start
Tasman District Council to be really moving that over the hill. It's just because I'm here, I can do it, you know, so.
It's good to have someone that's
Very good.
so passionate and committed to Golden Bay. So thank you, CJ, and thank you for your time and stuff today. The extra that you didn't think.
It's okay.
You got to see us for
Interesting
longer.
to see the other bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll add a line too, if I may, about the dog thing. You know, it is, you know, well, you know, my mahi, it's about education, people really understanding why it's a problem. It goes down a little better, I think, than the locking up the beaches.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's
Thank
the
you,
mission.
Yes,
Yeah.
submit to the process. Okay, so moving on to the chair report.
Yeah.
A little bit of stuff we can skip over. But I'll just try and get through a bulk before I have to escape.
It's not.
So the special projects funding, there is, we're waiting on further information on some of those projects. I think Gavin, you're going to work with Lynn, weren't you, and myself to really fully develop those projects.
Can I just talk to that one about what Duncan brought up with the special projects around the shade house? Yep. I never actually said. I've mooted the idea originally about where it could go, and one of the place that we're looking at was co-housing, and we talked to the board, and the board said no, not the co-housing. So
no, we needed a concrete.
I know, and
we needed a. This is where it's going to be. This is how much it's going to cost. We didn't have any information to give anything. We couldn't have said no or yes to anyone.
No, that's what I'm saying. We never did.
Who's going to own it? Who's going to manage it?
And that's what I'm saying. I didn't say to Duncan, just so you know, that we'd actually. I said that this was a possibility. That's a possibility. This is. So just to clear that from Duncan. Now, yeah, there are. I think it would be good to hear from, because we're all a bit new for the special projects. I think we've not really done any of these before, and Motueka have done many special projects over the years from their funding, and we're two very different boards, but they've got a good template of how they work. And I'm not 100% exactly how they work, but they seem to have flowed really well with their special projects funding. They tend to just come up with the project, ask council staff, what's the ballpark figure that this would cost?
Well, that's where we are now. We're at the start of that process.
Ballpark.
The reason that their process flows so well is because their projects are already developed, or they've been on the list for a long time.
Not
So
necessarily.
this is where we are now. We're getting information from staff, and then we'll be able to move forward. I think with regard to Duncan's, I'll have a conversation with Lynn, perhaps with Gavin, and we'll see what we can come up with.
Even if there's funding available for that, he needs a site or somewhere. I think an
Absolutely.
empty, unused cow shed somewhere.
Yeah.
What about
Just the White Up Gardens put a whole lot of shade houses, but at least one for months. You know,
Yeah,
there's
so I'll
enough-
take
you know,
all those ideas.
Right, that's a good.
Yeah, I'll take all those suggestions
Really good
back
idea.
to Lynn, yeah.
160 baskets.
Yeah, I'm sure they
Really
fit in one
yeah.
of those. I mean, I don't seem to use.
And while I'll talk to Duncan.
And while the business of the dump site, Duncan, I think it was so good because a lot of people come in at some time and help. And I mean, as a one-off for this time round, perhaps it is somewhere that could. Because you don't have to get bits of wood to keep them off the ground that are sitting on gravel or concrete or something.
That's right. All right, well, I'll have a chat to Lynn.
I don't think there's a time to be. There are a lot of choices, and you know you can probably discard ideas for all sorts of reasons. But at this point, it's about getting through this season.
Yeah,
and I think
having a plan moving forward,
and then do some more looking into the where to put the tunnels.
Because we're going to be talking to them about the, what was that further on in the?
She sent a whole lot of information in about it. So there is the memo of the sort of poll and for the construction. So there is a memo further on. With the poll, actually, that's a good point. We could do that now, couldn't we, Kevin? We were going to have a because they needed a resolution, didn't they, within our minutes saying that we'd support?
Yeah, so through the chair, if we just go through item by item, so if we
Easy.
just have your report received,
Okay,
and then we can go on to the next,
cool,
Yeah.
all right.
into the next.
I'll move that the report get received. Have a second, please. Second by Grant, right. Okay, so let's do that, then, make it easier. All right, so we'll go back. To the toilets of Whitechapel Bridge. Grant, I understand you had a meeting on site with Waka Kotahi on Friday in response to an email that you sent to them.
Okay, so,
Previously.
well, we spoke about this previously as a board. We talked about it and came to the conclusion that after the history of what happened there, it was nothing to do with TDC. Because it's now Waka Kotahi land and teamed up with MKM to create a bit of a reserve down there, a picnic area down there. Unfortunately, the toilet hasn't been cleaned. And so again, I went back to MKM several times who referred to me last time to saying, actually, who put it there? They're the owners. They should be one who are looking after it. And well, you know, so I went back to Waka Kotahi because they hadn't spoken to Waka Kotahi about it. And so I went back to Waka Kotahi and said, you know, what's going on? And they said that when originally they TDC discovered that it wasn't their land during the Freedom Camping bylaw, they talked to TDC and TDC offered to take the toilet away. And Waka Kotahi said, no, I think it's a good idea to keep it, not thinking about, and then part of it was maybe getting Doc to clean it on the way to the springs, because it's on the way in to and fro to the springs where they clean the toilets every morning, and that fell through. So we've ended up with this health hazard of a toilet down there that nobody seems to want to clean. So yes, I did meet with them on site, and I met with Rob, Service, and Phil, and they were very forthcoming. And basically, there's no money. They are keen. They hardly have money to put holes, to fill holes in state highways, let alone anything else. So they really want to make sure that it's clean too. But so they're kind of keen maybe for TDC to take it away, or they're very keen for TDC to clean it. But it's the last time they cleaned it, it cost them quite a few $1,000s because it had to be very deeply steam cleaned, water blasted, etc. So there is a bit of a problem with it, and it is a liability to the community. And I believe, you know, we do need to do something about it.
It's clearly Waka Kotahi's property now. It's very clear that it is. It was Lynn's land, and then it's become theirs. It's very clear. And you know, I'm just looking up here what NZTA's budget is for the year. Over 4 years, 2.68 billion over 4 years for roads, rail and public transport, in addition to the 20 billion already allowed in the government policy statement on land transport. So they've got like $22 billion of money. It's just a nonsense to say they don't have the budget, they don't have the money. It's just silly. So they just go through this weird thing of going, actually, we just don't do toilets on any of our properties. And it's not councils any longer.
Which is why I sort of, which is why I have the issue of it shouldn't have come from the board without the prior discussion.
It did come from the prior discussion.
It didn't. That was years ago, Grant.
That was just last year.
Yeah, but as a board, we should have agreed with amongst ourselves that you were going to send this email.
Well, we did at the time. We agreed at the time that we would take it back to the owners. Give it. It's not ours. It should go back to the owners, and that's what I did. That's all I did.
Well, I can just for the record, Waka Kotahi, I'm going to clean it because I checked it regional transport committee. I checked with them a spade. applications for top of the south, she said they're not going to do it. So that's a fact. Yeah,
And
I
I
know
said,
that, but that's-
it is
we
very
can't change
poor.
that.
And I
Yeah.
spoke with somebody, I don't know, a year ago, or when it first came
Mm.
to light, Chris Pom contacted me to say, toilets are a hell of a mess. Just need someone to pay me, clean it out. So I spoke to somebody in ZTA who
Nothing.
said, we don't have contractors that do that sort of thing. And I said, well, you could pay other contractors that do that sort of thing. Just not interested.
No.
So
That's
this
such a
is-
shame,
Well,
but there
we've
was
got
a
a big
decision
problem
that
on
they
our hands,
made.
and we've got someone, it's not necessarily our problem, it's the community's problem.
It is.
And in terms of taking it away, the people in the toilet bushes, and who can take it away because it's not ours anymore.
It's not ours, it's not, wouldn't be ours to take away, would it?
I don't know about that.
The physical structure.
Yeah.
So it was ours initially.
Yes.
And
The land wasn't
The land,
ours, and
the
we
land, yeah.
we built the toilet.
Ah, well, there.
We thought it was ours.
And then it gets handed over to the NZTA.
So do we as a board just request TDC to remove it?
That's one of.
Well, I don't know that we can request to remove something from someone else's land.
I know, and this is,
I
It
think
must be
that'd
on
be
our
totally
property
fine with
register.
that.
It must be on our property register.
but we would need
Building.
probably an official request from Waka Kotahi.
I don't
I don't know,
I
I don't know.
don't know.
there needs to be a toilet down there.
Yeah.
Well,
Do
yeah,
you think so?
Well, people go white baiting, swimming,
It is
paddling,
launching boats.
Mm.
launching boats, picnicking,
Yep.
fishing down the river mouth. It's just silly, isn't it?
And at the moment, it's not being used. The bushes are being used. That's part of the problem. So it's a liability.
Can we take this back so I can have a chat with
I
Gavin
think-
about how do we effectively get this?
Yeah, because I feel like we really, I'm not disagreeing that it's not a big issue, but my issue is with the process that we've followed. It's very skew whack and we're getting information from Waka Kotahi that we're not getting because we weren't at the meeting. So do you understand what I'm trying to say about the process?
Just agree to things as a board.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we did agree to it last year to get hold of them, tell them that. So that's all there is to it.
So can, would this be, go down as a help desk somehow?
Yeah, and many
Public health, but you know, what, is there some way that?
Yeah, I don't think if you're a government agency, you've got something like this on your land, you can just turn a blind eye to it.
No.
No matter how it got
So
there.
could TDC take action?
Well, I think we need to go back and regroup and have a rethink about it.
Good idea.
Get some
Yeah,
good,
good
get
idea.
some good information and good,
Something yes.
because we can't force them to put one back there though, can we? Unfortunately. Anyway, we'll
They
see what
have-
staff say.
I wonder where the road reserve goes to along there.
We've got an action item on
There
us
is-
to come back.
There's actually a tiny strip of land which belongs to TDC down there. Down by where the road goes, the little track goes down to launch boats, and that's actually owned by TDC.
Yeah, like that toilet cost a lot of money to put in.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it does.
So we've got a toilet on dock land down at our road, which because it can't go on our land because it's too close to the sea. So dock house it and we still maintain it.
And we've got a license to occupy.
Possibly not, formally, no. So I mean, there are scenarios we need to look into. Right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of details that we can get from.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, originally when it came up, I didn't realise it was so complex.
Excuse me.
So
Might be
there's
contagious.
the information, about the seagrass decline. So there's quite a bit of information coming, through now, from Henry and from Chris. I saw another email today, so thank you.
Yeah.
The
I
upcoming,
have a quick update on that too, because I was spoken to by a local out there who lives out there and has lived out there for 60 odd years, who said that many years ago there was a lot of rubbish dumps created out there by farmers who dumped all sorts of chemicals down holes out there, and this person believes that a lot of those chemicals from farmers and forestry, etc., have leached into the inlet. Now, whether or not that's contributing to this, he believes it's certainly contributing to the loss of shellfish out there. Mind you, partly the seagrass that's contributing to that too. So I think that might be one of the things that needs to be looked at is is there a record of the rubbish dumps out there and what was dumped all that 245T?
to pass back to the staff member. Is it Trevor who's doing the
Would
making?
you know whether or not that's likely?
Well. Yeah, it would be, you'd need to do some testing, because the major part of the declines has been the last 5 years. Last 10 years, so it wouldn't be something, I mean, it was thought that I had this, they spray the reaching out there sometimes. But the most likely sort of immediate cause would be
Maybe it's just taking that, maybe it's just taking that one to leach.
potentially, yeah, so it'd be something to
Well,
consider, yeah.
Yeah, we'd have no clue sitting here, would we? But do you see the emails I sent this morning to you? So it was mentioned in the environmental regulatory meeting about seagrass, and then this person from the Ulysses ecosystem outfit got in touch, and then I sent it on to Rob Smith, who got in touch, and then Trevor had a response as well. And essentially, you know, there's just the money's just not there for council to be able to do much at all with it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if Trevor had a bigger team and a whole pot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of sort of research needs to happen first before you sort of turn to remediation, because
You need to
sort of need to
understand
know
the
what's
why.
happening.
Yeah. You can't-
And Trevor's saying this year we have a bigger budget and a partnership with Salt Ecology and Waikato University to help us in this. So, you know, it's not like it's council aren't alert to it.
Yeah.
No.
And the university's on it too, I imagine so.
Moving on to all the bylaw reviews, I suggest that we set a date to meet and go through them, because there are 5 or 6 now.
Sooner than later, I think.
So yeah, some of them close relatively soon, but if we could make within the next couple of weeks, we should be able to work through them.
How about next Monday? Friday.
I'll be in at a dentist appointment in Nelson with James.
I won't be attending because I'm sharing most of the bylaw here in Pelican.
I'm on the dog control panel, so I won't. And I'm on the navigation.
But later this week is what I mean.
This week I could do Friday.
About Friday.
I could do the 23rd.
We'll do them all at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just do 9
quite a
till,
long
if we just
workshop.
got 9 till 12, we should get them.
What sort of staff support?
Yeah.
Probably, hopefully Gavin and Jess.
What about, I mean, so if the bylaws are either been coordinated by CAT for them, or Amy, the navigation safety one.
Invite them too.
Well, I'll be thinking, and then they've got their leads. So each of them have got their, you know, so the navigation safety, for instance, there's Peter from the Harbour Master's office. So you'll probably find that each of them has got a, you know, a lead as well as the, so it'll be a bit of coordination involved, I suspect.
Okay, shall we pencil in? Shall we
do that on the same day? Start again.
No, but it would be informing you, so then.
Yeah, but do you need to be?
Probably not. I was
Okay,
just going to do
let's go straight on.
considerations, yeah, because we've all done the readings, we've all.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 23rd, and we can have access.
Can we do it before that? Really, just so any date before that.
Boys and girls.
Earlier that week.
Spectator.
Earlier, any time earlier that week, for me.
But not this week.
Oh, it's a lot better.
Tomorrow or Wednesday.
Today's just been the technical nightmare. Okay, so.
Tomorrow works for me. Tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I've texted the principal and said I'll be 5 to 10 minutes late. Please just let them play.
Just tomorrow with the pretty much.
No, we're down 2 people at work, and Wednesday's out as well. It's Martin's funeral.
It was next Monday, it's 15th, as well, Tuesday next. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday.
Tuesday next week in the morning.
There's a.
It's one away from commutable count.
Yeah, Friday the 23rd.
They may not be able to make it.
Enjoy.
Due date's too close.
Through the chair, could it be an online meeting?
Yeah, would there be an option? Because when's the due date? 28th.
Yeah,
Could be. I mean, it could
but
be.
maybe
any-
hasn't
but
sent
it
the
could-
email yet, so we don't really know.
I mean, realistically, though, it could be any time from now. Couldn't it? Yeah.
So the sooner the better is what I'm saying.
Well, I can do the 16th. I can do this Friday.
Maybe that would-
Oh, it's just sorry you said that.
No.
So Monday's out. 20th.
Come on, team, you can do it.
20th isn't so good
Aye.
for councillors, is it? Or is it
I won't
all
be
right?
coming.
Tuesday.
You're not coming.
Yeah, no, you're not coming, so it's really in the forward.
Don't know, I'm
Yeah.
looking at you still, sorry, Chris. Still coming near the hearing oval. Take your time.
On the 20th works for me.
Are you going up to
Peter.
Elgins?
Yeah, going up to the Maruata Hui
Yeah.
the day before too, yeah.
It's the
Yeah, I could
21st.
do this one,
Yeah.
9 a.m.
And what day, sorry, Chair?
20th. Is that a good for you, Gavin? It's important that Gavin there as well.
What time? 9.
9?
Yeah, and then I can go from Richmond to Motueka.
You go from here to Motu.
Would you drive home? Oh, just so long.
To the meeting, to the 9 o'clock meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll zoom in.
Yeah.
Also, and take notes.
Okay, cool.
I'll come for the cat. And the water supply one.
We can do those first two, Celia, if that helps, and then you can go.
Yeah, there will have 1201 cat submissions.
Oh, so we have a few more by then, I'm sorry.
Cool. So I'll talk to Jess about those and get her support here as well. And Gab's going to zoom in, so that's perfect. All right, good-o.
So just on the fact that you want to get straight to submissions, in your report, you were able to give a rundown on the first three that went through the Environmental Regulatory Committee. But of course, this wasn't done in time to be able to consider the two that went through full council, which is the dog one, which seems to have a great deal of interest here.
Yeah.
And the navigation safety. So it just pointed out to you that you haven't got the same heads up, you know. And the cat one, dog one, I'm wondering whether that will be something that will really exercise you to do that in a short time.
Yeah.
And we can always, well, having a meeting earlier, if we don't get through, if we have more discussion, we can
Yeah, that's right.
you have the luxury
Yeah.
of pushing out a couple and doing,
Maybe have the Friday as a backup.
Yeah.
As a follow-up. Yeah. Okay.
that's great.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's good, and that's good. Taka Hill Repair Work Grant, in your email to Waka Kotahi, you asked about a time frame.
Hey, did you send that?
No.
That email I sent?
No.
Things should come through the border thing.
I did,
things like that.
I did send it, I thought I'd send it to.
I think not, but not even just send it to the border, that comes out of our.
So I can speak to that.
Perfect.
Anyway, so Regional
Amazing,
Transport
thank you.
Committee, I spoke to Emma.
Yes.
She gave us a presentation. So, yeah, the repairs are being planned. There was an acknowledgement that the process last time was not great,
Right.
which was interesting.
Yes, good.
Yeah, so that's been acknowledged. I requested for some lights that show how far you've got to go. That's not going to be, it's not going to be two-way till Christmas, till just before Christmas. So we're going to be here for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, well. And I think once they fix this corner, another corner is just going to be.
Yeah,
really
that's right. But one of the interesting things there was a discussion about quality, the geology of the hill, whether or not all the time, you know, the logging is going to have an effect. And in the end, what Kotahi said was, well, we just have to deal with whatever comes.
You'd have to think it would.
Because Well, yeah.
Just be more
If there's
exposed.
a 6-year cycle, which they have a 6-year cycle and they replant, that sort of gets past the problem of the rotter roots. You know,
Wouldn't that cause a,
fertilisation.
yeah, I suppose that causes a,
There's
it's
a
undercutting.
thought about that, because that's what his PhD was about.
Oh, yeah.
Down
Oh,
underneath, you
There you go.
know, the big slip.
oh.
In terms of the lights on the hill, there've been some issues with them, so they're not working. So I went through one morning and they were just on red for a long time. And the car in front of me just sort of snuck around the corner. And I gave a bit of room. I thought, at least you're going to get hit first.
No, I'm just
So these are
tucking
coming up the
As
hill.
long as someone braves in front of me, I'm all right.
Oh,
but-
so they've been 2 or 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
Is there, because there's no phone number, there used to be a phone number. to
Yeah.
call, wasn't there, on the old one?
It's not one of those ones that go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and all
It's
that.
not.
That would be
It's not.
actually a really good.
But it's a very short, it seems to me a lot shorter too than the last one.
Yeah.
Like,
Anyway,
It's shorter than this distance.
Right,
yeah. Thanks.
I've
Ellie,
asked,
thanks
I've
for
also
bringing
asked
that.
very clearly that they put it out, a press release to the GB Weekly, etc. Because it's not getting out to the comms aren't getting out there, and I think that's actually what's missing mostly. Because people keep asking what's going on.
I think to your point, Abby, about the process of doing these things, I think they do need to come out of the board. So it's the board that's sending a letter to, or an email to NZTA saying, what's the status with the hill work, and so that we're not each going out, finding out things, but different procedure on the regional transport. But I think we do have to get organised so that where things come out of here and they get sent.
An
under the board.
absolutely great point
I
about
thought
the
I actually
community.
sent it. I honestly did.
A great point about comms from Whakatahi and stuff, those though. But I think it was very impactful if it comes from the board as a whole. We've discussed it, we've all had our input and our chance to say, what about this, and then we send it off. Otherwise, we're sort of piecemealing.
Yeah, I just took it through as a PS on that other email. But the other thing he said is that they don't want to spend a lot of money on this hill.
They can't afford to clean a toilet.
And I know, but they don't want to spend a lot of money on it because there's so many, they don't want to put $1 million, 200 meters, $2 million piece of work, and when 100 meters up the road, up the hill, it's going to slip and it's going to be out anyway. So it's going to be constant repair. They also talked about the core sample that they pulled out, which had bedrock and then rotten granite that crumbled in the core sample, then bedrock, and then more. And it's just impossible to work with up there, and that's a big part of their issue.
And I think having the board request NZTA to come and do a presentation here, or just a tune in here to say this is what's happening, then it gets to the wider community, goes in the media maybe. So that's sort of why we want the processes to centre out of here, I think.
Yeah.
So they come to us and, well, they come into the community, I think, when they're coming here.
But Gavin's just reminded me about the, I managed to skip past after saying we'd go in order, and then I managed to skip past in the recommendation for the Rockville Pill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for that, so that's for the 10,000 ring fence, 10,000. So we've
So staff have suggested, Lynn and her team have suggested for the Rockville Pill, based on their initial work, that we grant $10,000 towards the project. That's a chunk of money that will be useful. If we, anything less, I think it was just but Rockville Pill need it minuted, and so that they can take it to their future funders. Was that right? So Gavin, what did we say?
So we'll just need a mover.
And a seconder
And
for
mover
that
and
one.
seconder.
Well,
I'll move it.
okay. And oh,
Sorry,
brilliant. So
Can I just-
Henry
Right.
and
Just to point out, if they're going for a large sum of money for the whole project. The most important thing is to fix the rusty pipes first and foremost, from what I understand from the report. And if it doesn't happen, if they don't actually do it, worst case scenarios, the money, we don't pay them the money. They get all the work done, and then the money goes to them after the work's done. We don't go to them beforehand. Just
So this is a bit pay invoice, I suppose, but
that's right.
Just as a commitment from us.
Yes,
So
to show
important
future
to
other
know that.
funders and, that they've got community support.
Yeah, exactly.
Through the chair.
Oh, Lynn.
My name, sorry.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi. I might have misrepresented that. My conversation with the Rockville committee lady was that the highest priority is the pipe work, and if they didn't get other funding, then those other projects could drop off. But I think my understanding is that the 10K would still go towards the pipe work. If nothing eventuated at all, none of the projects, then yes, the funding will be returned to the board. But yeah, just to clarify, yeah, if the whole project, the solar power and the heat and the pump were to fall over because they can't get additional funding, and to be honest, I'll be surprised if they don't. But yes, then that 10,000 would still go towards the pipe work.
What's the total for?
57 or something, 50.
So in terms of coming up with an amount now, it's the difficulty I have is that actually so this process hasn't been very good in terms of that all the things should be all laid out ahead of us, and then we go instead of actually we're picking these, get them developed.
And
up.
I think
So in terms of saying now that we want to give 10 of 65 to that, it doesn't sit right with me, and I don't know that that's the number. That's not the way that the numbers would fall for me.
Yeah, and I think too with Mott as well, with when they set their projects up, they didn't necessarily come up with their own ideas. They went to the community and got projects that were already planned out, already organised. So it was a lot easier from that point of view for them. I'm really sorry. I am going to have to go in with my kids. Rand, if you're happy to pick up, thank you.
So we've had
but I'll just leave Chris. Sorry, we were still talking.
So just on that. So if we were to
So through the chair, sorry, Lynn, can you quickly speak to how the 10,000 ring fence covers off the due diligence for the Rockville community pool, the wooden fence outside commercial, and the funding towards construction? Just to give some clarity around what that recommendation is asking.
Okay, so just quickly, when we get the special projects from the Motueka Community Board, they come up with a bunch of potential projects, and then they put it out to the community for their preference of what is the most important to them. And during that process or after, the board comes to staff and just says, well, give us some ballpark figures of what it's going to cost for X, Y, and Z. And then they make decisions based on those estimates and the public wish list, if you like. For Rockville, so for this particular situation, because my understanding is that they need a commitment to successfully apply to external organisations for funding. So you can't go to RATA or lotteries or pub charities and say, well, you know, we don't have any funding committed. So my approach with this was that for them to be able to say in their applications that they have agreed from the community board for an amount that would help with their applications. I totally understand Chris's reservations on this.
Yeah, I understand that, Gavin. I understand the process, Lynn. My point really is that here we are coming up with a number for Rockville before we've seen the other applications and how we might divvy up the money. And I suppose it doesn't stop us when we look at the other applications, giving them more if that's what we wanted to do, so we could include in the recommendation at that time. I just want to be sure that we this isn't, you know, that we can still make another recommendation at another time.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
That would be reasonable, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess as I've looked at these projects, and I've just sort of done some cigarette packet, if you like, numbers. I think if we were to do the fence outside Dangerous Kitchen, I think that might be 4 or 5K. I think the shade house would probably be similar. I think a playground at Puckawa is a whole different ball game because that's going to need substantial funding through RFCs. It will probably have to go through an annual plan process anyway. So I guess it was just a situation where I understood that there was an amount available. And I guess I'd looked at that amount and thought, well, okay, the Rockville pool could probably, and it's 100%, of course, it's nothing, might not, it's just I guess a recommendation from me, but that they could probably absorb that amount without impacting at least, or in fact, any of those projects.
Thank you, Lynn. I wonder if we can just even be a little bit vague with the funding for this and say there is funding available somewhere between 5 and 10, but we can't actually be exact yet. Is that a possibility? Is that what would you prefer?
I imagine that to be of any use to them, going to other funders, there need to be an amount.
They need it for
And I just want to know that, and I think we can make any, we can pass any resolution we like here. That if we say 10 now, and then when we look at the other things and actually get things costed properly, we can include in the resolution and an extra whatever towards them if we wanted to do that. I don't want us to be, we haven't come up with the 10,000. So yes, I can go with this, understanding that we can make another resolution at some other time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we nominated it and seconded it.
Yes.
So I don't know whether the rest
Is
of
there any more? Somebody else?
agree with it.
So any more discussion? Then I'll put it to the motion to the all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, so that's $10,000 at this point.
Yeah, nice.
Now, where are we up to? Still on the board report? Yep. So, water conservation, or what are we doing? Touched on the water conservation, we're at 11. That's just information, really. And Golden Bay Promotions Association annual membership. Do we want to be members of Golden Bay Promotions? Is it in our favour? Is it in their favour? They're asking for
$286.
$286. That comes out of our discretionary funding.
I'd be inclined to go with it. Do a lot of good work, and it would be an endorsement of their good work from us. My thoughts.
I don't know about the length of time, but I'm assuming it's been members for a long time.
Yeah.
And would there be a reason to change that? I can't think of a reason. I can't really. No, yeah, our membership is relevant to us and
I tend to be guided by you, Celia, as a rep on there.
and evil.
Yeah, sure, it's a good idea. I'm happy to go with that.
It'd be really nice if they could contribute to the hanging baskets, which other towns are doing around here. That's kind of what the other promotions in Baker and also Richmond.
Yeah, well, there isn't actually a business rate.
That's right.
On record, there is a business rate on the businesses,
Yeah.
but there is no business rate here. So the only thing businesses pay is to Golden Bay Promotions. That's what.
Do we need to look at that?
Well, the businesses decided some years ago that they were asked if they would like a business, if they would go along with the business rate, and they decided no, because this was not
a big enough, business, you know, we're not as big as Motley. It's 2 seats.
This is something for us to review. This is something for a future agenda for us to look at and for us to ask the question. And I don't know what the process would be for that to happen. Would it be a long-term plan?
That would be the annual plan and the setting of rates.
Just a question. It's coming from this.
I won't move that because I'm from the community board.
Oh.
From that
I'm going to move.
No, second. Okay, all in favour?
Yep.
Okay. That brings us to the action. Oh, now have we no, the action sheet's part of the chair board report, isn't it? Right. Special projects funds ongoing. Discretionary fund. Is that coming afterwards? Is it? Discretionary funds that on the
That's the next.
after, yeah. Okay. Let's check with Democracy Services to confirm the correct process for reporting accountability reports. We got that. Did that come? Do we know? Is there any action back on that? Can we get some action back on that?
Yeah. So through the chair, we've got now that I'm looking after Golden Bay, we're pulling everything in so we can track that to make sure that the fund receivers are reporting in at the right time when they need to. So we've got that check. That hasn't occurred previously. So.
No. And can it come back onto our
yeah, automatically into the agendas.
Yeah, great. That's why I asked.
And then also through that way, then we can also make sure that if we are getting applicants trying to apply within the 12-month period again, then we can say, oh, actually, you've actually applied, and then it avoids it coming all the way up to community board for it to go back down again and say no. So.
Or if they haven't put their return in, and even though it's been over 12 months, we can make sure that they haven't put a return in.
So we've just got a robust record keeping system behind it.
Good. Yeah. So can we take that off the action sheet that's in action? Cycle service. I wonder what service. I wonder what have you gone up to there, Robert? Obviously, just leave it on there until next time. Right. And again, we don't know what's happened to the next one, so I guess we just have to leave it on there because I don't know what the action has been. No, nothing happened. Okay, so. Discretionary fund applications. Hang on, is that the end of the board report?
That's right.
So all in favor? Someone, yes.
So Kevin, will you, we've got 2 sections here, which is chair leave with contact. Is that, what's your role in that? Your role to do that?
So I'll remind her to do that, and then I'll know it's complete when she CCs me out.
Right, and I'll pop it in the book and the thing.
Yep. So all of those updates will come through in the next report.
Thanks. Thank you. So we had a mover and a seconder for the board report. All in favour?
Aye.
Passed. All right. Discretionary fund. We've got 2 of them. Big brothers and big sisters. Nelson Tasman. Now they have applied before. Are they within the year? Are they within the time frame? Do we know that?
As far as we know, yes, that was processed by Jess, and Jess always was very diligent in looking back into the records.
Does say usually who got what and when. If we could have maybe in the future a just a list, maybe, of who got what when. It is in the financial report, isn't it?
Yeah, but we can look at a way to better present that information,
Just
just so it's nice and easy going. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, so open discussion up to one or both of these.
I'm keen just to support both of them.
Yep.
Yeah, they're both very worthy causes, I think. Do a lot of really good work.
Yes, happy to as well. You want to move, Henry?
Yeah,
You
we
can move,
approve both of them.
I'll second it, yeah. I can see in the boys and girls one, in the main budget cost, there's advertising. $1,500 for a full page ad and then 4 small ads.
Yeah.
It's a lot, isn't it? Anyway,
Yeah, I'm just a little bit. I'm always a little bit wary about, you know, who they're paying, how much they're paying, but you know, I'm just like the clown and a face painter are only $150. That doesn't sound like an awful lot of money for a clown and a face painter. I guess they're happy to pay, you know. I mean, that's the thing that we may have to look at in future, I think, is if we're paying an organisation who employs somebody to do something, are they paying them at a reasonable rate that's within the kind of set boundaries of financial, you know,
I think that I'm not so worried about that. I think if it's some professional organisation or, you know, but this is like, and I know you've got a connection to Hannah who does face painting for various organisations.
Well, it's just artists in general, actually.
Yeah, so I just don't think it's, if they can find someone to do face painting for $150 or something, then, you know, maybe they've got older kids doing it, I don't know.
Yep.
I don't think it's an issue really. Good on them if they can get someone to go and do
I
that.
think because these things run largely on volunteer contributions anyway. They're not for profit sort of enterprises. That to be a lot of people who are getting much less than they're worth, you know, through the nature of the programs.
I'm just generalising.
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favour?
Aye.
Yep. That was moved by Henry. Was it?
Yeah.
Second by Councillor Hill. Okay, I'll move to receive the financial summary. Everybody's read that?
Happy to second.
Sorry, through the chair. Moved. My only question is I'd like to have seen the budget for 23-24 in this. You've got the budget to compare it, because there's the budget, the end at the end there, it says budget for 24-25. I'd like to see the 23-24 one running alongside it, just as a comparison.
This is 23-24.
Okay. Yeah. So I'd like to see the 23-24 budget.
The previous budget.
The previous budget.
22-23
budget.
Plus the oh, okay, sorry. Hey, the previous budget. Sorry, the numbers, but yeah, the dates. The previous budget. It'd be nice to have seen the previous budget running alongside that, like just because it is the end of the financial year as far as the council goes, isn't it? It's just you.
We're in 24-25.
as of now.
Yeah.
So, it's just, because it's a summary of last year's.
I agree with that, because the normal practice.
Yeah, I would thought so.
I'll pop a action. Have a chat.
Yeah, I'm sure our accountant member would be very keen to see that too. Right. No other questions about the budget? The finances? In all in favour?
Right.
Right. Passed. And that leads us to the end of the community board meeting, a long one it is. It's what happens with 6 weeks, isn't it? Chris, can I pass to you
Sure.
the kia?
Yeah, kia ora ki tātou, tāpiri mai ngā rua, e te tai ao, mai a papatūnu ki tākoko nei, i rangi nui e tū iho nei, tūturi whakamau ki a Tina,
Tina.
Koe,
Tai.
tai.
And I'll have a chat with Kim and the team about just when they're scheduling workshops to not put them back to back, because then staff can't get in and out to set up. And if it runs late, then once one runs late, everything else runs late. And if you're on, for Abby having to go and get the kids and things, it's just a little bit fairer on that. But we'll have a chat and see if we can fine tune that as well. So
Just needs a bit of space between, doesn't it?
yeah, get a breather in and staff can come in, do what they need to do. Oh, good. Yeah.
I think too, the public forum presentation sort of process was pretty chaotic today. Usually we have people in the forum, just get that first.
And so if we had time to come in and get the technology up and running, have it sorted, and then the meeting, ideally when we're doing the meetings, as soon as it hits the time, we just go. Everything is ready. So that's where it's important to make sure that we've got time.
Today's the exception to the rule.
Yes, yeah. I wasn't very happy about that, but that's what happens when you're so used to working in the council chamber where it's all, humdrum formal. So I'll add that to the list. So apologies for the.
And so the other thing is having a clear distinction between what's a public forum, which is only 5 minutes.
Yeah,
And the presentation. The two are quite, this should be quite significant.
We can ask jumbled up to that. Yeah, and I'll have a chat with Kim about
Penguins was supposed
the length as well. So that'll be an
Duncan came in
the boundary.
today and gives a counter.
The plan change. Oh, sorry, the zoning.
It needs to be more people do book in.
Yeah, this one's sort of been constructed, I think, without a great deal of discipline.
Yeah. So lots of learnings and good little meeting debrief.
Do you see that email? I'll have a quick chat with you.
I did after you forwarded, because I wasn't one of the recipients, because of the way it's constructed.
Oh, I see.
Well, we've got on Duncan for, pushing on with the